Hi, you're listening to Sharing Values Across Borders, a podcast featuring Christoph Stuckelberger as he recounts the first 20 years of the Globethics story. But I want to come back to, we're talking about rules and relationships, and we were having our nice coffee break a moment ago, and we were talking about friendship. And of course, in a network like Globethics, it's a movement, it's a network. So really, the relationships are everything. But we were talking about the very specific kind of relationship that is friendship, and you said, "Well, let me come back to that."
It's a line between a professional network where we want to have quality, we have professionalism, and that means also professional relations with which is different from friendship.
Mm-hmm.
So, and of course, when we have staff, and that is a professional relationship. No?
Mm-hmm.
So, superior staff or whatever relationship when I was director and I'm president. And at the same time, the beauty of Globethics that we are more than that. We're not just an association of lawyers and do some business together, or and that is then where the line between relationship and friendship is fluid.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not easy to handle always because we want to be professional, but at the same time we have good relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And I take the board. We are very professional. We have our agenda. We have our professional mechanisms. We have our checks and balances. All that is as it has to be in a foundation. But the beauty is that at the same time we have how to say, we have a human relationship
Mm-hmm.
which allows us to, it's fulfilling, it's rewarding also to, and to for example with DVR, yeah, it's a very professional work, but at the same time we can also, when she was sick and she's still sick, or when we share about family, children issues or whatever, it has a space.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why then that is probably one reason why for me after official retirement I continue, because it's just rewarding life.
Mm-hmm.
It's just life. I don't need to separate profession, and that is a bit dangerous when I say, because people think, oh, they mix everything. It's not that. It's just a holistic way, and I know that for others it's the same.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, it's not with everybody. Some people we just have, we are just board members, or we are just in a project.
Right.
But I think many people like to work in this network because it has these both components.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you understand what I mean.
Absolutely. Why do you think I'm here? Having tea, hanging out, right?
Yeah,
No, I totally get it. And I think that's one of the reasons why I was asked to come on board with this, because that when I do speak about Globethics, I have a sense of this.
Yeah.
But I have a note here on my page that we say that the people are the capital
Yes.
of Globethics. And if we were to play with that metaphor a bit, what would you do with capital? You would reinvest it or invest in it, and so I'm wondering if we could just talk a bit about how are the people the capital in Globethics, and what do you do in a way, to use a horrible metaphor from capitalism? What do you do to extract the value from that capital?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. What I'm always impressed is that high motivation of people who come to this network. Mm-hmm. They are just thrilled to be with us and to be connected. And then I asked myself, well, what is it? And I think what I feel is it's this being in a value-driven community where we know that we cannot get rich in it, we cannot take benefits. If somebody's lucky, he gets some remuneration or some salary, but many are volunteers. So it's not a monetary motivation, it's a values driven. Then of course monetary needs to be correct. Mm-hmm. But and the other one is I'm impressed by, and that's the capital, the people are knowledgeable, diverse, gender is in a good balance overall, in the sense of we have depending on the country, but we have always 2/3, 1/3, whatever, more male, more female in a country, for example, or in boards or in staff. So we have to be careful to have enough young people, because as every organization, we have 20 years of history, and the active participants become older, mm-hmm. The founder generation, so to say. But we have a lot of potential, but we have to tap in it. So the capital that you ask, we have to expand generation-wise to younger people. What is not enough materialized is the capital of knowledge, of competence is much bigger than we already use. Mm. That means it needs proactive efforts. Mm-hmm. And that is, of course, one of the limits, because we always say we offer this network, this platform, become active yourself. You don't need to wait for an okay from Geneva.
Right.
But that is still the majority of people become active when we push them to become active, or right. We make a proposal. Mm-hmm. And so that, in that sense, the capital, a part of the capital is still dormant. Mm. What is also, we did not yet speak about finance, but such a network needs also the active participation of the participants in fundraising, for example, and that is also not as much as it should be. Mm-hmm. So the capital in the literal and in the metaphoric sense is a great capital, but has to be further developed. Mm-hmm. And can be. For example, the capital of authors for publications is already well developed. The capital of teachers for the academy is this is our fourth youngest child of the pillars, but mm-hmm. Can still be further developed. Mm-hmm. And so on. So it's sector-wise a bit different.
Is there?
And I would say maybe one additional sentence that it's not only the people who are the capital; it's probably also the institutional setting which is a capital. Mm-hmm. As I said, where we are located and with the regions, that we have quite clear procedures and structures with the openness, but also not just a movement without any structure. because I reflected in the last 50 years a lot about relation between movement and institution, and we are both, or we try to be both. Mm-hmm. We have an institutional setting, but we want to be also a movement, but we are not a movement like a free-floating people's movement somewhere. We are more an institution than a movement. But we want to keep the character also of at least elements of a movement. Mm-hmm. I'm a bit cautious on that.
But then I think this touches nicely on questions around quality, and quality being one of the named values of Globethics at this moment. So a moment ago, I was about to ask you, is there the possibility that Globethics becomes too big, where there's like a loss of this kind of like in a way like institutional intimacy, where you know the people and you know the players, and it becomes something where you kind of lose a grip on it, in a way. And so then I'm wondering, is that possible? Is there a point where, you need to say, okay, this is it? Or is kind of sky's the limit?
We are definitely not at the limit of growth. On the contrary, we are still, after 20 years, we are global. That is really, I'm proud to say. But compared to other NGOs or foundations, we are still limited. Mm. So we definitely have much more potential. That leads, of course, then to the structural issue. But I mean, with a budget of 3+ million, we are tiny compared to others. Mm-hmm. With a network of 200,000 people as registered participants, that's substantial, mm-hmm. but it's not used. Now, we had a phase we had two limitations in my view. One is, depending on the leadership, I had the commitment and still have the commitment that a network like ours, we have to consciously go beyond people we know.
Right, yeah.
I have a rule that I say, when I'm in a conference and I know more than 50% of the participants, it's a bad conference. There needs to be at least a third, if not more, new people in each conference. Mm-hmm. Because otherwise we are just a nice circle of friends.
Having a good conversation. Yeah.
Which is also a value in itself.
Yeah.
And for some events, it's the correct way. Mm-hmm. You invite those who are trusting and you do an expert workshop or whatever. That's nothing wrong. Mm-hmm. That's one type. But to expand a network, you need always new people. Mm-hmm. In addition to, so for the continuity, you need people you trust, but you need new people to come in. And that needs the openness. And maybe we publish not the name, but I can mention it because I discussed it with him. Obiora, for example, Obiora was the former director, mm-hmm. excellent person. I hired him, and it was a very good person, but he was the type of, he did all on relations, and he brought his network here, but with the limitations, he did not go beyond.
Right.
So whole countries, for example, said, no, we don't find access because there were different aspects. For example, Indians and Nigerians, he was not matching. China was matching. So, but that means now FAD is different. Fadi also brings, and that's normal, everybody brings his or her network, but he's also strategic, and I'm strategic. I say we need to search consciously beyond our friends.
Right.
And so we say this sector or this country or this we want to include because we are missing them.
Right.
For example, Obiara was very much always with Christian background, people with Christian background. He has a Monsignor, that's fine, but I always told him, look, we want our identity is not Christian. We are Christian plus. We are a global network with philosophers, with non-faith-based people, with Buddhists, with Hindu, with socialist background, Chinese, whatever. So that is a challenge in that respect.